Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Not So Wide the Vibe. Today we're gonna got the crew back, and it's just us. We are missing Brennan. I don't want to exclude him as part of our new crew. So we a couple hot topics in the news last few weeks, and we'll kind of hit both of them. But I first want to welcome my partners in crime to this thing, Mr. Tori Brown and Cody Noblat.
Good morning. Good morning. Lately, life hasn't been too easy, but it's still life. Like my co-host said, we got two topics for you guys. For the ladies, one is a real heart driver, and it might be for the men too. And for everyone, it's something that we kind of run through every 5 to 6 years, maybe 10, but it's kind of sickening. So I'll turn it over to Cody for his entrance.
I enjoy being here, doing these shows, man. I'm just hopefully I didn't need a stretch before this one. We'll see.
What you would need a stressor for?
The Dad DeLorean. I got like a whole drawer full of dad shirts, but I love them.
I got you. I didn't know if it was Florida, like Floridian, because all I seen was the end. Like,
no,
was that like
it's because I'm fat
or
maybe it stretches out too much. But it's Dad DeLorean.
A Disney reference Florida, or was it a Star Wars?
No, Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I got it after you said it. Sorry, that was a weird interruption.
No, it's all right. Like I could literally probably cover months.
Only wear dad shirts.
Yeah, I probably have like 10 to 15 of them in my drawer, like different dad shirts too.
It's pretty neat, man.
My kids like them, man.
Father's Day,
Yeah, Father's Day, Christmas, birthday.
Really? So that doesn't matter. Not just the Father's Day thing.
I get them all the time. My wife will see one and be like, I like it. And she'll buy it for,
Especially if it's Star Wars or something.
Oh, yeah. Shit that I like, yeah.
That's cool. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes. So recently there was a leak from the Supreme Court that it was...
Oh, a leak.
That's what I said.
Oh, I didn't leak. It's hard to, yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Do I need to speak up?
No, I probably just need to pay better attention. That's all it is.
There was a leak.
Honestly.
A leaked document of a supposed... I don't know if it was going to be discussed, or it was just that there have been two arguments of the possibility of overturning Roe Vs Wade, which is an extremely dividing topic in our country.
Shouldn't be.
That's what's dividing.
It shouldn't be. It's not what you think it is, man.
Again, it's debatable, but I'll let you start by saying that. So go ahead.
So all Roe v. Wade and all overturning Roe v. Wade would do is put the abortion issue back in the hands of the states versus being a federal thing. So the people in these ultra liberal states like Colorado and New York and all, they can still abort babies at 9 months, right? That's not going to change that fact.
Well, they can write the law,
right? The way that their constituents want it, and in places like Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and the more conservative states can have their heartbeat bills that they're trying to pass. Right now, Roe v. Wade tells the states that want to have a heartbeat bill that they can't have it. Right? That it limits any kind of abortion law till after the first trimester. Or you can't do anything before the first trimester, something like that. That's how it reads now.
After.
Yeah, like you can't regulate anything in the first trimester. Like any laws that you have has to be after the first trimester.
Correct.
Right. So whether it's restricting or permitting, it has to be after the first trimester.
It doesn't eliminate. It doesn't make abortions illegal.
No. All it does is it gives the rights back to the states. And look, I forget which justice it was, but she was a liberal justice. She even said it's not good case law. Like whenever it was getting passed, like it was a political issue. Right.
Same as it is right now, because that's where I feel with the whole, with them potentially overturning as well. Like it has been miscued by the media in so many ways 100%. As they're making this that abortion's going to be illegal in your state. If you live in Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Missouri, like these states that are trying to pass these, I guess, more regulated abortion bills.
And look,
they're saying that it's making abortion illegal, and it's not. And that's what frustrates me, because when people don't actually look into it and look at what these heartbeat bills are going for, or they don't understand, like you said, what actual Roe v. Wade did when it happened, and they're just saying it's either illegal or legal, and that's not the case, and it's not what most places are trying to do. You know, like you could be, and I'm one of them, and I'll just sit out here and say it, like I am 100% okay with them overturning this bill.
Oh, I am too. I think it should be a state issue.
It should be a state issue, but I'm also 100% saying that I'm 100% pro-choice.
I'm not even close pro-choice.
So I know that, and that's why I'm making that statement, because you can be for both, because it still allows, number one, constituencies and people to vote and pass and elect the people in your state that represent the people. Mm-hmm. And I know the people, it's always a majority. It's never everybody, and I understand that. Again, that's what this country was made for. It was made to be run by the states for the people, and it's not going to make everybody happy, and it's not all inclusive, because you can't make a law that's all inclusive. Somebody is going to not want to fit or not want to abide by that statute.
Oh, yeah, that's why they have. I mean, the very definition of a criminal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I just don't mean I don't mean law as far as that's concerned. I'm just saying
any bill you're gonna have to be for and against it. I get it.
So where you at? See what's your?
So I'm pro-choice, of course, because I think it's not really much that we should allow our government or any laws outside of protecting us and outside of civilians or other people from harm from other people. I really don't think the government should regulate too much rules, or the state should regulate too much rules over what people could do with their personal self.
But go ahead.
Go ahead, Cody. Go ahead.
So, and I agree with you, but a woman doesn't have 20 toes and 2 hearts and 2 brains and 2 different sets of DNA. So it's not just her body; it's the child's body too. So when let's say the kid gets here and the kid is just terrible, who's responsible for that kid? She can put up for adoption.
Who's responsible for the kid?
Her.
All right.
Nobody made her have sex either, so
nobody should be able to tell her what she could do with her body either.
It's not her body though.
Whose body is it?
The baby's not her body.
Whose body is it? Who's the sole possessor of the body, Cody? So the baby could say, "Hey, I won't eat," and she gonna feed it, or something going to tell her to do it.
Well, yeah, it's called you can't kill your child. Like once the child's out the womb, everybody on the planet has to take care of the child.
We're not talking about that. I'm talking about while the baby's still inside of her.
Yeah, the baby's connected to an umbilical cord. Right.
All right. So if you jack off and you shoot some sperm on the side, it's not the same?
It's not the same thing. Not at all.
Why not?
That sperm doesn't have separate DNA from me. It doesn't have a heartbeat. It doesn't have toes.
Is it something that's used to create a different DNA?
That's different, man.
So you're right, Cody. Well, I don't see where you could tell somebody
to not kill somebody else,
to not do what they want to do with their own body.
This is the fundamental difference in pro-life and pro-choice. This is not, and not that I don't want to have this discussion. It's just like
you having a cop that shoots somebody in the back.
Well, the thing is where what you define as life.
It's not. One's running away that has no harm to the person that's chasing, and the other person is carrying something that they decide that they don't want.
They're not carrying something. They're carrying someone.
They're carrying something until it's here.
It's here. How's it not here?
What you mean? How it's not here? So the actual birth date is the day that she was pregnant, because that's not how. Right. So when you come out, that's when you get your physical birthday, right? So it's not here.
You know what a birthday is?
It's not here. It's the day you come into the world, right?
It's the day that you pass through the birth canal. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what can I tell? So outside of me telling you it's a boy, it's a girl, it got 2 eyes, 10 toes, a penis, a vagina, what else can I tell you about this?
How do you measure death?
What can I tell you about this?
How do you measure death?
You asking a question with a question, Cody. But
I'm just like I've already told you. Like
you didn't tell me anything. I just gave you a situation, and you said, "How do you handle death?"
I answered you. A birthday is the time
I didn't
in
ask
which
you about
a baby came out of the
vagina. I asked you to tell me what else you know about that baby outside of the sex, outside of the 10 toes, outside of the 10 fingers, outside of the vagina or the penis.
What more do I need to know about the baby to know that it's a living individual?
What you mean? A living individual? So it's actually considered an individual in the womb or an organism?
According to you, it's an organism.
I'm asking you a question. I didn't make a statement. So according to me, it's nothing. It's a question.
It's a person.
So according to you, it's an organism.
It's a person.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
It's a person.
Right. But when you went to school, they said that was a person or an organism.
I don't care what they said in school.
Right, man. So you been retarded pretty much to the situation.
How am I being retarded to the situation?
Because you saying what you was taught. You don't care about what you was taught. You really care about your own person.
I said I don't care.
What they taught me in school.
How they labeled it in school.
Right. Like shooting a person in the back.
That has nothing to do with abortion.
It'll get a cop off.
It has nothing
It'll get a cop off
with abortion.
And guess what? The person ain't in their body.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask whatever you want.
How do you define death?
What you mean, how do I define death?
How does somebody define as being dead?
First have to be alive.
But like, so what? So that the heartbeat stops. The heart stops beating. Their brain activity cease.
It's an all.
Okay, so a baby has those things while it's still in a womb. It has brain activity. It has a heartbeat. So we define death by those things stopping, but we don't define life by those things starting. I don't get it.
You don't get it?
I don't. Not at all.
Again, again, this is where it goes down to. This is the conversation. You're not going to change people's minds.
Listen, y'all can say whatever. You will never. This is one of those things. I'm open-minded to a lot of things.
I get it. Nobody's trying to change your mind. So let's just get that.
I know that. I'm just letting you guys know that like this is one of those things. That's my line in the sand.
Going to be
like,
right.
It's going to be an argument.
We understand.
It's because it's when people are devoutly pro-life and people are devoutly pro-choice. The line in the sand is always where you define life.
Right. Absolutely.
What do you define as birth?
Right. It's not birth. It's where you define life beginning.
Well, again, so then you can get into so many deep dives about quality of life.
Like I just did.
I mean, you can have 2 active brain cells in a heartbeat and say, "Well, that's life." I disagree.
I mean, we just got to agree.
You know what I'm saying? I get it. So to have,
but those same people define life on other planets as a freaking single cell organism. But life on Earth, a baby in a womb's not.
You hunt, Cody?
Huh?
You hunt?
Yeah.
And you pro-life?
I'm pro-human life. Yes.
That's a stretch.
Because you hunt. That's why it's a stretch. See,
but I'm pro-choice, so
it's not a bad thing. Listen to me. I'm not going there.
All I'm saying is, human life ain't the same thing, man.
What you mean, man? So it probably had animals here before it had humans.
What that got to do with anything?
So it shows you how you could put a life substance on just you being a human, but you don't really care about nothing else.
I didn't say I didn't care about an animal.
You said
it was their life. Their life is not as important as a human life, 100%.
So
an animal's life is not as important as a human.
Right. I'll just. Right. I'm a hunter, right? And I have no problem taking an animal's life, right? Because it feeds my family. So I understand what Cody's saying. Like
it didn't always feed your family, though.
What do you mean?
Like hunting didn't always feed your family.
In my lifetime, hunting has always fed my family.
Yeah.
Always
fishing since I've been
I'm just talking about strictly killing animals. I ain't talking about fishing.
Well, I don't.
You know, I'm just strictly talking about pulling the gun on an animal, like the violent act of shooting something that has 4 legs that could also give birth to something else.
Yeah. It ain't just 4 legs. I mean, ducks and.
I don't fish, Cody.
What you eat?
I don't fish. My whole thing is
I'm not an avid hunter.
I'm talking just about if you couldn't do this, my mindset would think you wouldn't have the heart to kill a deer or anything else. That's just walking through their own territory, not minding anybody's business. And you got this human sitting in the thing waiting for you.
What you talking about?
What you mean? Pro-life versus killing an animal.
Like I just told you, I don't think an animal's life. Now
I understand.
I don't respect an animal
from my point of view.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right, just like your point of view. You know.
Yeah. So and that's the fundamental thing is where you define Cody, the opposite. So how you define death or how you define life You know, that's the $1 million pro-life, pro-choice.
So
situation.
let me ask you this, because you guys are both pro-choice. Do you think there should be no regulations, like a woman can have an abortion up until birth?
Personally, no.
Dory?
No.
So where do y'all think it should?
Again,
I think first try semester, just like it currently is now. You know, honestly, that's just me.
But what's the difference between a baby at 13 weeks and 14 weeks?
Come on.
But that's the first trimester.
Yeah, no, I get that, but that question is like saying, what's the difference between a chicken and an egg?
It's not.
It is. It's exactly the same analogy.
What I'm asking is, what happens in that week that you say, okay, now you can say you can't have an abortion, but a week ago it was okay. What happens to that child in that week period?
But that's pretty much probably because of the laws, right?
That's because that's what Roe v. Wade said.
Right. So if it wasn't that, you think women would get the abortion earlier?
No, I think it would allow the states to be able to say, look, when a child has a heartbeat, it's a living being, and you can't kill it. Not unless it meets certain criteria, like detriment to the mother's health, things like rape and incest and those kind of things. You can make allotments for all of those things.
Yes, and you can also make that when in a situation if somebody is raped and doesn't realize that they were pregnant until they're in their fourth, fifth month.
At that point, abortion is not on the table.
For you.
At that point, the child is alive. You need to give birth to it, put it up for adoption. If you don't want to have,
Again, that's your position.
What's your most traumatizing thing you'd have never went through, Cody?
I've had a lot, man.
Like something that you couldn't even control.
I've been shot at, so.
While a police officer?
Yes.
So something else why you can't control? Like you was on duty? Or you was just...
Like...
So before you became a police officer, I understand. Like
he's been a police officer holding...
Right, but I mean, for instance...
I've been in a car accident. That was pretty scary before I was a cop,
Right.
Jared was with me.
My whole thing is wrong as far as what you perceive to be a live kid, heartbeat, and stuff like that. So if a woman is raped, and she doesn't know, I mean, you have a wife, you have a daughter, I'm sure. Like, that's tough, bro.
It
and
is.
For them to mentally bring that into the world, and even if they give it up for adoption, that woman is never going to be the same, bro.
But even if the child's aborted, the scars of rape is still there.
It is, but I mean, there's plenty of research that goes back.
Says that a woman gets over adoption way more often than gets over
you just
abortion.
said that, man. You interrupt thoughts more than anything. But there's plenty of studies that have shown the earlier you end any traumatic situation is the shorter time for any kind of recovery.
Okay.
So again, if I go full term birth and you have all these additional moments in life that continue to tie this heinous act with this miracle, with this great act of giving birth, right?
I mean,
it just makes the recovery that much harder, if not at some point impossible.
All right, so a few things. First off, you're talking about the less than 1% cases.
I agree.
Okay, so I would even consent to say that if we can make abortion illegal in less those cases, sign me up. Right? If that makes everybody happy and that ends the argument, and it's just rape or just incest and those kind of sure. It's less than 1%. But I will say this. You're taking one trauma and adding another trauma to it. It is, just hear me out. It has been proven that women get over adoption more than they get over abortion.
It's not true.
Look it up.
It's not about looking at stats.
Okay,
it's about talking to women who've had abortions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've talked to some of them too. And the majority of the ones that I've talked to says they wish they'd have chose adoption. Especially once they become mothers. They wish they'd have chose adoption.
I don't agree with that. I'm not saying that there is not, again, select few that feel both ways.
I'm sure there are some that feel like, man, I'm so the best choice I ever made was having an abortion. I'm sure there's women that feel that way. Right? All I'm saying is I think that a heartbeat bill, personally, in my own opinion, I think it should be before the heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that a heartbeat bill is one of those things that I think both sides can say, okay, it has a heartbeat. We measure death that way. We can measure life that way. It's one of those happy compromises.
And again, I don't think that's
my opinion on it.
I don't think that's.
But the problem is, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to finish my. The problem with the heartbeat bills is it goes into the latter parts of the first trimester. So states can't have that bill because of the way Roe v. Wade's written right now. That's all those states are trying to say is that when a baby has a heartbeat, it's a baby, and you can't abort it. You need to do that beforehand. That's and I think that's a decent compromise for all people. Yeah, I think that's better. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just think. I mean, I get your point, and I don't. It's hard to argue the fact from somebody that's adamantly pro-life to be willing to have that compromise, right? So because that's what you're doing, right? You're saying, look, I want zero. Unless,
right, yes, I think abortion should be illegal.
Incest,
right,
and like
right.
Heinous acts.
Right.
So, and I get that. But I just sit back and go, I don't, it's just my personal opinion, it's not my place.
How's it not?
Don't know, because it's not, like Tori said, it's not my body. Like, I try to put myself in the position of my daughter. And regardless of the situation, it's never an easy decision to make to say I want to have an abortion.
Well, no, of course it's not. It shouldn't be.
So correct. And I look at it going, she's ever in a situation, and again, the way she was raised, how our family dynamics are. Like, I take all that in consideration. If she still comes to me as a young teenager, God hope that never happens, but even as a young adult in college, and I got drunk, I didn't, whatever the situation is, and like, I can't do this. And I'm going,
different households, but
of course, that's evident.
I pray it never happens to you, bro.
Right.
I look at it in other family situations that have your household, and not your, but you know what I'm saying, like mirror your family dynamic and your structure and your belief system and all of that great stuff, and it really puts unfavorable tension in the family.
So I know a family where a lady was raped, and she had a kid, and she kept the kid, and she kept the kid all the way through, raised the kid or whatever, and they have the worst relationship. Probably
because she has animosity towards that kid.
Like,
every time she sees the kid,
and it was the first kid, so I think the lady felt like the kid kind of stopped her life, and it was the fact that it wasn't somebody that she was with, like she was raped. And it's tough because I think she was raped by a family member. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they really don't get along. Like, they total opposites. And that trauma kind of followed down to the rest of the siblings that came afterwards. Like, it's real dysfunctional. And I'm not going to say it's just because of that, because I don't know how long it took that person to get over being raped by a family member that conceived the kid, And I'm knowing that that person probably felt like the family think she brought it on herself. Like, it's so many things that go through these women's heads when situations like that happen, and it's strictly off a rape case. I'm not talking about just anything else.
I get that. I look. I don't like the argument that because I'm a man, I don't get to have an opinion.
Oh no, you can. I agree with that. You definitely have an opinion. I'm gonna go one step further, and I think. And this is what gets me with so many people, and I know this is a very unpopular statement, but I know so many women that are 100% pro-choice for women, but are not 100% pro-choice for men.
Right, and that's a double
And so
standard.
that's the whole other argument, right? When it says, well, I can choose to abort this, but if the dad says, man, we just got, same scenario, right? We just got drunk and, man, it was like, and again, I'm not excusing bad behavior.
No.
But what I'm saying is that the man just can't walk away. He's forced to pay child support for 18 years. I didn't choose to have this baby.
All he's doing is trying to abandon the kid. She's trying to kill it. So he can't, I mean, if you look at it like that.
If you look at it like that, I don't look at it.
What I'm getting at,
I get it though. Yeah. But that's
kind of a cold-hearted way of saying it, but
it's true though.
Like he's not financially responsible for her decision.
Yep.
And you got a good point. That's now look, I am pro-life, and I think that the dad, he had an equal part in creating that child. He should have all the joys of assisting in the raising of that child. Whether it be forced upon him or his choice, he should be financially responsible for that child. It's his child too. But I do think that the father should have some say-so in that.
I agree, 100%. There's, I think both ways, and that's why I look at it as being that pro-choice situation, because if either party.
No, I don't think. Now, look, I don't think the dad or the mom should be able to say we're having an abortion. So I don't want that to get misconstrued as I think the dad should be able to choose abortion. I don't think any of them.
Correct. I understand that. What I'm saying is that for people that's only pro-choice one way, that's
it's kind of being a hypocrite.
Yeah,
right.
Like let's really look at this. Also, go on the record as saying, like, personally, like I personally, again, I mean, I have kids.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like, so I would never, greatest thing in my life is to be a dad. Like you said, you had all these, dad shirts, and so I get
favorite
that.
title.
I just don't think that it's my job, my position to determine what goes on in somebody else's household. And and the main thing is when everybody brings, and you don't, so I don't want to separate that, when people bring religion into it. That's what really aggravates me.
But
because, go ahead.
That's I mean, because I don't want to get too far. I want to address the point about other people's households, because generally I'm 100% with you. Like I have a very libertarian view on you and your house, but there's laws that have to exist, like domestic violence laws. Mm-hmm. That's something that's happening to your household
to protect, right?
To protect, and that's the same thing. That's the same way that I view abortion, right? It is. Those laws are in place or should be in place to protect the child, the most vulnerable of our society, right? So to an extent, yes, I agree that we shouldn't be telling you what to do in your own household. But when it comes to those protection type laws like domestic violence and abortion and those things, I think that we have a duty.
Where do you see, where do you put life?
Well, look,
right?
For me personally, my own personal Cody's, it's at conception, okay? But I would be willing to compromise and say when it has a heartbeat or separate DNA or brain function, the things that we determine, that's alive. Like I said, when we measure somebody's death, it's the lack of those things called, So if we're using that measuring stick already, then it should at the very least be at the heartbeat. And I think that's
argumentative, and just in the fact of where you see it, and then. Because I see it differently, right? Like,
I mean, it's a softer approach than the earlier Cody. And like I said, Cody, I don't
it's
never
a compromise,
right? I don't never go. I mean, without it seeming rude, I expect you to be Cody. Like that's one thing. No, it's not rude. Like I know.
I'm not offended by that, bro.
Huh?
I'm not offended by that.
No, I hope not, because it's really not. It's really nothing bad. Like. I know your viewpoints on some things, and I know where you're going to stand, and I know it's going to trigger me to try to get to the middle point of it, and that's just us. Like, I feel like you bring out a lot of my competitive juices too when we have these talks. Yep. So hearing it, and like you saying, like, I understand your point of view, nothing should leave this earth if it has 2 eyes, 2 paws,
Right.
4 paws. I'm just playing.
I know.
Yeah. But at the same time, it can be traumatizing for the ladies, and that's like you done moved me a little bit to the point where I figured, yeah, you know what, Cody, you're right. I think once the heartbeat get there, we need to leave that alone. You know what I'm saying? But it's still an option, long as it's an option before that option.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think and that's the whole point. I think there's some middle ground there that both sides can say, okay, this is where it's an easily acceptable. This is life. It has a heartbeat. It's got its own, DNA. It's got its own fingers and toes.
Even if there's, and I'm pretty sure, and you clarify because you may know more about the heartbeat bill, but even if there's exceptions written in there about incest,
in most of them there
and,
are.
Yeah.
Now there are some look.
It's like
Oklahoma's trying to go none.
Yeah.
Right. So there are those states, and that's the two extremes of the Roe v. Wade.
You
thing.
also know, and this is your statements. I'm gonna paraphrase, but just because you make something illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Well, right. They can drive to another state. Right.
They can do it in their state. They will. Before 73, there were plenty of abortions done.
But at least murder is illegal. And just because people murder doesn't mean we should take murder off the books.
So that's
right?
why when I look at a place like you said, like Oklahoma, I'm like, that scares me. Because it's still going to happen.
I mean,
right? Especially in those situations. Because look, even the most religious people, especially extremely religious people, do a lot of backdoor, shady, behind it.
Yeah, look, I'm not...
So I'm not saying you are, but what I'm saying is that have a heartbeat bill. Make it legal. Make it to where these people do have a legal,
right?
Healthy way of doing things, and not going to some back alley doctor.
But that's what's going to happen, though.
Well, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Because you got to think, before it was actually there, before anything was actually set in place to actually help people out, it always was somebody that figured they could do it without being legit, could get it done without nobody knowing, and stuff always went wrong.
Now, I will say this: I think most people, if they had to choose between the two extremes, right, between no abortion or the way some of these places have it, where the baby is actually out of the womb in some cases, if it survives abortion, and they just keep it comfortable until the mom and the doctor have a conversation. Those two extremes, I think most people are going with no abortion,
right,
versus killing a baby,
right.
But nobody's even telling those people in those states where they can have 9 up to term abortions. Nobody's saying you can't have that anymore, right? All Roe v. Wade saying is that if that's how your state wants to operate, y'all want to murder babies, then go murder babies.
But that's not what you hear in the news right now.
Well, no.
It is completely, they're trying to make abortions illegal. And
right.
That's what just,
that's the... Of course, like we said earlier, that's the media trying to grab us. You know what I'm saying? Trying to bring the attention to that. And we have known that in several different...
They do it all the time.
Right. Anything that comes up, the media are going to put or leave a few words out just to grab the public's attention.
So it gets the little clicks on their websites, and it used to be to sell papers, but people don't sell papers anymore.
And like we spoke a couple of weeks ago on the social media thing, Cody, I didn't even realize people were actually having abortions up to 9 months.
Yeah.
I thought you only could do it up to a certain time period.
Well, in some states, right? But in some states, you can.
Right.
Most states, it is.
The majority of states would probably end up adopting something like a heartbeat bill. With the exceptions written in for your extreme outliers like rape and incest and those type of things. And like I said, I think that if that's where it's at, I think you have a lot of people that are just, okay, makes sense. You have a heartbeat, you have some life, can't do anything to the baby unless you didn't know that you had, a child because you were raped and you weren't paying attention to it, and all of a sudden, crap, now I'm pregnant and I'm 2 days over the heartbeat.
Right. And I mean, just our society today, unless a person gets raped and just no longer either go seeks help or go to treatment, how long would it be? I don't want any women to feel like I'm insensitive to you, but how long would they actually be before they know of that situation?
All right. No,
I mean,
you'll start noticing
cycle-wise,
things.
most women, within 45 days of conception.
But that's a normal woman that hasn't gone through the trauma of a rape, right? I get
correct.
that. I get it. Look,
So
and that's just a question. It's nothing to put on you.
So
That's just me asking.
At a 13-week, anything after 13 weeks is man. That's only my opinion, because half of that they don't even know, right? And that's a normal, healthy, vibrant woman that finds has that's.
Yeah, I missed my cycle or something.
You're going through trauma, and or if you're a woman that just has irregular, and that's what I appreciate, and I would hope more conservatives, and not just conservatives, because there's plenty of liberals that are pro life as well.
Right, and there's some, but this
is the thing though. Why can't the media have this conversation that we're having about? Well, I know why.
Because this does this.
It's coming together, right?
I know why. It's kind of a rhetorical question, but that's what's so frustrating to me.
That's why we have our podcast, Jared.
Golly, like Tori was like, nope, I'm 100% this, and Cody's I'm 100% this, and then just going, Cody is not 100%. He is willing to compromise in not his beliefs, but in the law that regulates everybody else.
Right.
And Tori was 100% this, and then after 20-minute conversation, I was like, damn, that is kind of no. So again, true compromise.
That's how compromise happens, right?
What a little.
But this happens every day in America, and the media does shit about it.
People don't take the time to talk, and that's why I tell people, just take the time and talk to somebody with an opposing view. Not argue with them.
Right.
No,
just talk to them. Right? And if you're pro-life, you're not going to change people's mind by going extreme on them.
Right.
You're going to change their mind by asking them questions, helping them to understand things that maybe they didn't know before, right? Not judging them.
Right.
And then you can start having those opposite ends start to kind of come to a point where you can make
understand that, like we said, that we have a fundamental difference in belief.
Yes.
Of what's defined as life, right? But once you overcome that, right? Once we go, okay, we know that is a difference that we're not going to change. Now let's tackle everything else, right? Let's see what everything else could be compromised, or how do we feel on everything else? So it's like, I didn't even know you can have it.
Right.
There's some I don't.
Right.
I want to say it's Washington,
because that's kind of
wrong. Like Washington will actually terminate.
You would
at
that point, man. You might as well go through the trauma.
You
know what I'm saying?
Because it's done.
You literally at that point 9 months.
There's some states, and I don't know if it's Michigan, Minnesota, Washington. One of the where literally there's a bill in their abortion law that if a child survives abortion, they go in and try to kill it, but their efforts are futile, and the baby's born and alive, taking breath, crying, they will take that child and put it aside and keep it comfortable
until they make a decision,
so that the doctor and the mom can now go decide if they're gonna kill that baby or not.
And man, that's tough. If you get down to that, yeah, you gotta go. Tough. You gotta go, man. Because I'm thinking about it from my point of view. All right, I'm looking at this baby. There's no way I'm going in there and tell a doctor, yeah, doc, go ahead on and take it on out of here.
Right.
Because you're going to carry that with you the rest of your life. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. If you could physically see the baby, man.
Just tell them, let's
put it up for adoption.
It's easy. You sign up, you never got to see.
Yeah, you don't have to see the baby anymore. It survived, it's going up for adoption. You have a choice, mama. We can put it up for adoption.
Oh, you can keep
it.
Right. Yeah, nothing else.
Right.
That blows my mind.
And once again, this is just our opinion, because I know, Lord, this is a tough topic.
It is.
It's not. Yeah, it's not an easy.
It is a tough topic, and that's why it's so polarizing. And that's why most people don't talk about it.
Right, because they don't want to get into it.
Because they don't want to get into it. They don't want to be like, well, this is how I feel. And look, I have this conversation with a lot of my friends, because again, we have polarizing differences on many topics, but we're still good friends.
Right.
So I challenge people to have these conversations with your friends, with your circle, with your Maybe not coworkers, because that could give if you
Unless it's a
co-work
friend,
outside of work, then cool.
Man, but, even if it's a coworker friend, sometimes you can run your friends wrong, and y'all gotta be at odds for about 2 weeks. Man, look, just don't call me, man. I'm gonna call you when
we need a little break, man. Right. It's not you, it's me.
Not this week.
But yeah, man, like so. Yeah, I look. It is one of those topics, But again, I think if you talk about it and don't argue, or try to change somebody's mind that way by just through sheer force, that doesn't work. It makes people put defensive walls up, and you beating your head against a wall you're never going to break.
Yeah, and yet of course you have to have the conversation with someone that's willing to have the conversation.
Yeah, that's 100%. But you got to realize too that you start having a conversation, they start getting hostile. Look, it wasn't my intention to get into an argument with you. Obviously, we have two different viewpoints. I respect you enough that I'm just going to stop having this conversation. Right? If you calm down and you want to readdress it, we can readdress it. It's hard for me to do too.
Like,
but I'm trying to, we're on a journey to self-improvement. That's one of those things I'm trying.
Man, I just walk off. I ain't gonna even lie to you.
Know. You walk off.
I'm just walking off, man. I have to, man, because I don't think it's competitive.
I wish I wouldn't delete all after we do this, because I would love to go back.
After, how many times Tori done walked off?
There it goes.
So, and look, I think we're kind of coming to an end on this segment, but personal experience, all right? So my wife and I had a child later in life too, my son Adam. The diagnosis of Down syndrome you get pretty early on. They do a chromosome test and they can tell you. It's pretty much around the same time you can tell the sex of the child, So the doctor gives us a diagnosis of Down syndrome with like a 99% certainty, right? The very next statement is, what do y'all want to do with it? Like, you just told us our kids can have Down. Can we have a minute to frickin' breathe?
Right.
Like, that kind of stuff needs to change too.
Because it's a pressure. They making you emotional, and then they want you to make an emotional decision.
Right. And look, because of my wife and I's belief system, that wasn't a hard question to answer. Yeah. Like, we went outside just to kind of get some air, cried.
The realization of it.
And then, and in the process of crying, my wife said, I want my baby. I said, well, I'm glad because we're keeping it, kind of thing.
Right.
And we went inside and they were like, we're going to just have a baby with Down syndrome.
And I totally understand
awesome.
that, bro. I totally understand
awesome,
that.
But that's the thing, man. And I agree with you. Like, I've heard some similar stories from people that have children with Down syndrome, and that's the same thing that bothers them. But if people that are in that situation and don't have a strong belief system, one way or another, that's scary, because like you said, you're presenting them with two extremely tough things to digest.
Right, let them digest the first one first.
You're like, hey, look, this is what you got. Let's make an appointment in a week.
Right, come back in a week. We got some other things. We'll discuss your options.
Yeah, because I get it. I understand people's.
That should
I don't
be a law.
agree with it. I don't agree with saying, hey, look, your baby has Down syndrome. Abortion's an option because of that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a like you said. I mean,
my thing
amazing. Like, there's, and if you ever spent any time, and I know through I don't remember Ms. Walker's son's name, but when in high school,
right,
Ground.
Ms. Walker. Anyway,
Judge Walker's son.
Yeah, if you've ever spent any amount of time with anybody that has Down syndrome, you truly understand the joy of life. Mm-hmm. They have such an innocence and such an amazing love that is unparalleled to anything that you have ever experienced.
It's like a baby, man. It's just like
I've said it a million times. Any parent that's in that situation that's happened to listen to our podcast or a friend, and you reach out to me, because that's a scary thing. Reach out to some support groups.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I know that just not with Down, but he has other health issues and challenges, like especially
we were really blessed. He had a few little health issues. It could have been a lot worse, right? But even if we'd have had those,
No, but I'm saying I understand how people, when given that immediate choice will consider because that is their mindset.
Right. Because they go through that. Like the doctor goes through that. You know, your child's got an X amount of percentage of having to have gastrointestinal surgery and heart surgery, and they give you all this doom and gloom, and then you know what you want to do. Yeah. You know, it reminded me like of going to a sleazy timeshare salesman. You know, but just the opposite. When they say all these great things about him, and come on, sign. Come on, sign. I'm like, man, can I have a second, like, to speak to my wife in private? You know,
right?
No, sign here. Oh, well, you know what? I can do you one better. I got. That's kind of how. One. Right. That's kind of how it felt, man. And I would encourage anybody that's going through that kind of, like, just take a moment. You can tell the doctor to pump the brakes and walk out. You know, if I say never has a heartbeat, Bill, you on a time clock. You know,
you don't have a month,
right?
But you got a week.
Right. Yeah. Take the time to talk to some people who have kids with Down syndrome. You know, go spend some time around those kids.
Y'all in any kind of groups?
They're like, so there's a group. God dog, what's bro? I think maybe has Upside Downs.
We gonna come back and fact check that because we don't want to get hit on that. Yeah. Last time we stayed at something, we got hit, huh?
Oh, no. He's so the Upside Downs is I think it's I forget his last name. Anyway, he's got Upside Downs, and they were phenomenal. Like
that's the name of the organization,
right? And that's
they do a lot.
They got
of
billboards around town,
and I'm just asking that because you know you could have so many resources until you in that situation. And you ever seen that? Like, man, all right, I saw resources about this, resources about that, and now I'm in the situation and I can't find the resource. Yeah. You know, so
it's like people that have
multiple. Yes, it's Bo Brooks. He's the one that started Upside Downs, and look, I am eternally grateful for that organization. Like
Bo Brooks, for you listeners, watchers that may have anybody with Down syndrome.
Well, you can just reach out to Upside Downs. Like it's just a
organization.
It's it's a very close knit group, and there's people like my wife and I even too. Like if anybody's got any questions, they can reach out to us. You know, or anybody knows support groups. Like it's you know, it's a small community, but it's you know, it's like a family kind of thing. You know, so
totally understand, man. I totally understand.
So we're going to transition from one almost impossible topic to another. Recently,